welcome to the Vacation Rental Life Show with Derek and Matt. And this is our weekly roundtable discussion. We're going to be talking all things. Just want to make sure everybody knows that this video chat is being recorded, and we do publish this out on YouTube and in our Facebook page and group, which is Vacation Rental Life. And so you can check us out on Facebook. Please make sure you join and, subscribe and like and notify and all. Smash those buttons like all those millennials say. Again, my name is Matt Ward, professional speaker, referral consultant, and vacation rental life concierge. And I'd like to introduce my cohort, my partner in crime tonight, Mr. Derek Eaton. Nice. He doesn't know how to use the mute button, ladies and gentlemen.
There we go. That's what happens when I have to take a call right before it starts, because we all have.
All right, introduce yourself to the crowd, to all our fans watching on YouTube.
How's it going, everybody? Derek Eaton, Seattle Oasis Vacation Rentals, and I'll live here in the beautiful island of Kauai, managing my company from here, and also want to help those of you out on your vacation rental life journey so that we can be not have to be married to our business and have the life that we want. So that's what Matt and I are shooting to do. And today wanted to talk specifically about security, trust, and independence, especially in light of the current pandemic that we're in. We don't want to say that word, I don't think. So I hear from YouTube, because they don't like to have us say that virus word. But that being said, I know that in Seattle, we are in a compressed nightly rate environment where more than ever we have, I have the lowest rates I've ever had in the Seattle market. That being said, I also am achieving 80% occupancy, which is about 40% higher than most in our market. So dropping your price also often means that you get less than spectacular guests. And so wanted to share at least what I do on my side, and also open it up to everybody else to see what questions you have or what you guys are doing to protect yourselves in our current environment. We do have a guest from a company that I do use, Christine Saba. She hasn't changed her name on Zoom yet. It still says Meyer, but we'll forgive her for that. So, and yeah, so from our friends over at NoiseAware. And so, yeah, that's basically what I wanted to discuss, and open it up also to discussion and questions, and raise your hand or unmute yourself or what have you, and if you have anything that you want to share. But ultimately, the part that I do, it all starts with the idea of that independence line. While it's third in the list of the title, everything I do starts and ends with listing site independence and trying to get contact information.
How do you do that, Derek? How do you get, because I know it's a struggle, right? Especially when sometimes the OTAs and the listing sites won't give you contact information. So you kind of have to peel it out of people sometimes, right?
Oh, I start with asking. It's really hard. Just ask. So, I mean, out of all the sites, I'd say Airbnb is probably the hardest to a certain extent. Yes, they have the data curtain, but some guests are odd about sharing their email. But I have a very simple canned email that gets sent out after every booking that states, hey, thanks for booking with us. Expect an email from our partner software with the rental agreement. Sometimes Airbnb doesn't deliver that. So if you have any problems getting it, please do share your email with us. And that way we can make sure that you receive it. It is required by our HOA to have this rental agreement. Please ask us any questions you have, etc. And I'd say 9 times out of 10, I end up with the email address just from that canned response. So easy win there. Part 2 of that then is actually that in our software's case, that rental agreement, one of the things that they ask is for people to confirm their email address. no one knows what their Airbnb email address is. So they type in their email address. So that is one way that we get the email address of the guest, even if they don't share it with us. Then separately, we do use a product called StayFi in our properties that put up a gate to our Wi-Fi basically, and collects email addresses from there, which that is a kind of a cool product, especially for people in large homes, because you can have one person book with you and not have the contact information for the other 3 to 8 to 10 people. And then those 3 to 10 to 8 people all have their devices and give you their email addresses as well. So you all of a sudden can market to the entire group and not just the one.
Not to mention, another little hack there that a lot of people are aware of, but they might give you a different email address, right? Personal, work, whatever. Mm-hmm. So when they sign the lease, they might give you like a work email, and then you get a personal one, or you might get a junk one when they do something with Airbnb. And now you get a more accurate one when they're actually in the home, because it feels safer, I would think, to submit it at that point. Because a lot of times with, when we as marketers and business owners play the download game, when we offer resources, we get, in exchange for the resource, we get an email address. But a lot of times it'll be a spam email address, meaning it'll literally have the word list. Somebody signed up for my list today with an email address that started with the word lists with an S on it. So they knew exactly that this is the email that they put into lists. And that's the email I'm forced to market to as a business owner. And so this is a great thing where when they start to feel a bit more safe and comfortable they've already checked in and their guard is down, plus their kid's got an email address and, all these other things. Now, can you make, with that product, can you make it required?
Yeah. Yeah. What are you saying, for the Wi-Fi or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we require.
What happens if they put in just 123@yahoo.com? What happens there?
It doesn't know.
So they'll still get on the Wi-Fi and you'll get garbage.
Yeah, exactly. They could give us junk email, and we do.
So that's, when you're doing marketing as a whole, that's why you never give them the thing after they put in their email. You email it to them because otherwise they'll give you a junk one to get by the gate.
Yeah.
But still, you're getting good quality and it's going to bounce right away. So
yeah, that would be interesting. I hadn't even thought about that idea. That does give me the idea of after they give it to me, I wonder if I'd be able to email them the password to actually use the Wi-Fi. Like once that fully gets them on, is that I have to email them the password information. That'd be an interesting way to do it. So that way I know I have at least a good spam email that they have access
a good
to.
spam email. Yeah.
At minimum.
Cool. What other tools are you using for those email collection things?
Derek, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Did you say this is through StayFi?
The StayFi is the Wi-Fi gate that I use. Yeah.
Okay. I just actually had a conversation with them earlier today. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Arthur's a good guy. He's one of my favorite people in the industry. He definitely has the heart towards helping others too, to get the independence. Like he has some bigger projects going. I'm not sure if he got into that in your initial call with him, but he has some bigger ideas regarding how to cross market between all these different all the different users of the product too, and that type of thing. So yeah, no, so that's definitely a cool tool. And getting back to the whole safety thing, like being able to have that rental agreement and having your clauses in there. I mean, that's kind of the step one of this whole thing, as far as security. If I have someone that is freaked out about signing a rental agreement, that's red flag number one. I may not want to rent to them. Then red flag number two that gets brought up is sometimes they either lie about their age or don't notice that I do have a minimum age requirement, and so then that comes up. And I don't rent to people under 25 as far as the primary renter. So that helps. There's a reason why rental car companies require people to be 25 without paying a premium. and I just think that the premium's probably not worth it. Otherwise, I'd probably do that in vacation rentals too. But I don't think I'd be able to charge enough to make that a good bet.
Hey, Derek, I have a question.
Yeah.
Do digital signatures, or do you just, what are you using for the signatures?
Yeah, digital signatures. So for both companies that I've been involved with, we either stream signing software when talking about the Hawaii Kauai business, and then in Seattle, Kigo has its own digital signature product, part of that platform. Their welcome part of their product. So yeah, I mean, that's makes life easier. I've used DocuSign, going back far enough when I got started. It was send an email and have them e-fax it back to me. So I've had a rental agreement from basically day one. For a while there, I find it interesting. Now you have guests that kind of push back on it and say, "Oh, I've never signed a rental agreement." And before Airbnb came on the scene, really, HomeAway VRBO was saying that's how you know you're actually renting a legit property, is that you actually have to sign a rental agreement. So that was common in the industry, and actually a safeguard. Like, you didn't want to deal with somebody in Zambia that said to wire them some money and not have a rental agreement. That was one way that you knew that you might be getting a fake property that doesn't really exist. So yeah. Having something tied into the software, and the fact that, I do like the fact that Kigo's automatically does work with the email aspect of it, and that it asks for that email address, and then it actually automatically updates the CRM component, so that when I export that information out to my email marketing program, I actually have the real email address versus the one that we initially get as far as the Airbnb email address. So, and then, with, at least for now, knock on wood, VRBO HomeAway gives us their email. Booking.com gives us their email as well. All that's subject to change, but really, I'd just rinse and repeat the same processes with these other OTAs. If I don't have someone's direct email address, I have to sign my rental agreement, and the best way for me to get that to them is to actually have their real email and not some gated email or fake email. So that's step one of the process for us. And I feel like a lot of people underestimate the value of that rental agreement and rental process, and having a firm contract that looks professional, that basically scares away people that are possibly not the best renters. Like I said, the amount of people that I have pushed back that say that they want to cancel because of it. Even just today, literally, I had someone that said that they wanted me to cancel the reservation on Airbnb because we required a contract, and that I needed to call them, and got them on the phone. And after talking to them for 5 minutes, put her mind at ease, and she signed it and sent it back, and she's coming next week. So sometimes that's just what you have to do.
Do you get a copy of their ID?
I have the ability to do that within Kigo, is to actually require that. I'm currently not using that feature. I'm mixed about it.
I've never done that with short-term rental, but with my midterms right now, it's an absolute requirement. And if anyone kind of, shies away from it or asks questions about it, that's kind of the immediate red flag, just not to rent to them. So,
I just want to talk about red flags for a minute, because, I don't do driver's license or IDs for rentals. I do a lease agreement. If you don't sign and return the lease agreement, you don't get access to the property. And we've never had a problem. One time, I think somebody said, "Oh, that's kind of weird." And our response was, "Look, we have condo association rules, and we need to present those to you, and you need to agree to them. So this is the way we do that." And inside of that is the whole lease agreement, which, by the way, is going to protect you if you have any issues for overstays and all this other stuff. But we're talking about, we're talking about data collection here, right? And trying to find ways. We've talked about this before on a number of other calls. But it's not just good enough just to get the information, because if you do nothing with it, it's of no value, right?
Yeah.
So if you're collecting emails, people expect to receive emails from you. So give them something to benefit from. So if you're an advanced user, then you probably understand this thing called funnels or automated marketing, automated campaigns, and you can drop an email in and just slowly curate, the relationship over time with a series of emails. But if you don't do any of that, and that's fine, start with something as basic as a simple email blast every month talking about, by the way, don't talk about your property. Talk about the area. Remember that people don't stay at your property because of you or your property. They stay at your property because of what they do in the area, right? They're there to work. They're there to do this thing. They go to tourist activities. They spend the least amount of time in your house, unless, of course, you have the house that is the house that everybody wants to stay at. It overlooks the thing with the infinity pool. Like when I rented a house in St. Thomas, I had looked at that house for over 3 years. I knew exactly what I was getting into. They had an infinity pool that looked over Megan's Bay. I knew I was spending a lot of time in that infinity pool and at that house. But I actually spent more time out and about in St. Thomas and St. John than I ever spent in the house, right? They have a lot of options for where to stay. So give them the stuff to do, and they'll do it. And then you'll be the resource, and they'll keep coming back. The other thing is, once they're gone and your place is long forgotten, your goal is to remind them of the value that the area brought to them and contributed to their vacation to some degree. People love pandas. If you have a zoo, take pictures of pandas and put them in your newsletter. People will book your place just because of pandas, right?
Especially baby pandas.
And notice I said pandas, not pandemics. Okay, so collect the data any way you can, but use it. Because if you collect the data and you don't send an email blast for 6 months, a year, the first thing people are going to do is unsubscribe. They're going to be like, "Who is this? Derek who? What? How?" It's not going to help the situation at all. And look, that comes from somebody that owned a digital marketing agency for 16 years and was the #3 partner in the country for constant contact email marketing. So I know exactly how to do email marketing, and I'm just sharing that with you to say, do something with it, even if you just do a little bit. And if you don't know what you're doing, then find somebody. There's someone local to where you live that can do your email management for you for really cheap money. $100 a month or something like that. Find somebody like that.
Yeah.
Derek, what else you got?
Well, to echo what you're saying, our word of the week has been shitterate. And so, the idea of, the first copy, the first minimum viable product, it's not going to be your best, and that's okay. So anyway,
hence, by the way, you see where we've come now, right? We now have backgrounds with our logo on them for our show, right?
Yeah. We didn't even have a name when we started this thing. It was just a meetup. So
yeah.
We're doing exactly that. And I did that the very first email blast that I sent out to my guests. Looks absolutely nothing like what we sent out now. And I almost forgot one important thing. You're reminding about what you do with the data. The other important thing that at least the Kigo product allows me to do, and what you can probably program into any of your platforms that you guys use for rental agreements, is I ask for their date of birth. I have their birthday. I can wish them a happy birthday, and 3 months before their birthday, invite them to come to my property and spend their birthday with me. So, things of that nature, it's not that hard to ask. And, the fact that I'm asking for their date of birth to verify their age gives me a great excuse. I haven't taken it to that next level yet, but the next level from that is I will know when they turn 50. I know when they'll turn, 40 or any of those milestone birthdays as far as, big excuses. So, being able to comb through that data and be able to do a little bit more with it and invite people for those big events, that can be helpful. So, yeah. Did someone? Oh,
Benjamin. Yeah, Benjamin's got some.
yeah. Are you?
Can you hear me, Derek?
You're really low, but I can hear you.
I was just going to ask you about your rental agreements. With Kigo, can the guests, do they have to input information into that, or is it automatically entered into the rental agreement?
Can
you repeat the question, Derek? What did you say?
I couldn't make
I think
it out.
Is the info automatically entered for your rental agreement with Kigo, or does the guest have to enter
the
it?
guest information, dates of stay, dollar amount, that stuff is automatically in there. It requests the email. It asks to confirm the email address, and then date of birth information that the guest inputs, as well as their phone number. It kind of reconfirms their cell phone number that we have on file. Number of people in the party gets reconfirmed. I think that's it. The other people in the party, I have some options within that. Like I can ask for more information. Like John brought up, I can ask for a copy of the IDs of guests if I want to. I just currently haven't gone to that level. I'm close. It's probably worth a good beta test to see what would happen if I have any pushback from guests. Because if I don't have any pushback, why not get it? But,
Thanks, man.
yeah. That answers your question, Ben. I had a hard time hearing you. Sorry. I don't know if.
Yeah, no, that was good. Thank you.
Yeah. So then after that, I mean, the next step of our personal process is we do something that's a little harder to scale or doesn't make sense in some aspects, but we actually meet and greet a lot of the guests in person to do a check-in. And so that in itself can scare away guests. It's also an opportunity to wow guests because you have a local person with local knowledge of where to go get breakfast, where their favorite coffee shop is, all of those types of relationships. So we do leverage that, and it also helps our footprint within the HOAs that we operate in. If anybody on this that watches this deals in HOAs, in my experience, HOAs love to hate vacation rentals in general. If there's anyone in the building that lives there full time anyway. If everyone's out of state and everyone is an investor, like not a big deal. But if there's anybody, even one person, and if there is one person, they're probably the board president, lives there, they're going to hate all the vacation rentals and love to hate them. So, having a good relationship with those people and them knowing that you have somebody there to check in these people, no one's sneaking in, no one's bringing in a keg and having you not know about it, type of thing. That's valuable. Get a lot of trust.
Let me tell you how we deal with ours.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy. It's not easy, as Kermit said. It's not easy being green. And I think that's what they see in vacation rentals. They see just all green. They think everybody's making, hand over fist with money. They don't see the expenses and all these things. But oftentimes what I see in some of these people is they're renting as well. They're just under the table renting. They're not following all the government guidelines. And or they're just doing longer term stuff, and they take the issue with the short term, right? The less than 30 days. I actually had somebody on our condo board tell me the other day they did not know the definition of a short term. When you say short term rental, what do you mean? So I explained it. But it's funny how the issue is not actually short term. The issue is a misunderstanding of who books short term. Many times you get into conversation with these folks and they actually believe that it's partiers. It's young people that are going to throw a party and hold a ruckus. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen, But when we're talking about the conversation, the phone call, the email, like we won't actually book anybody in our place unless we have a verbal conversation with them. There's no exceptions. And in one case, we had a group saying that they were coming in for a concert. We're like, yeah, no, we're good. The thing is, we have to understand as vacation rental owners that not every piece of money that comes in is green, right? And so we have red flags. And I'm actually writing a book about why business owners don't trust the red flags. It's a very common problem. And it's normally because the red flag does not override the desire to make money.
The red flag doesn't outweigh the green flag?
That's right. Red flag does not outweigh the green flag. So the way we deal with the folks in our condo association is we love them to death. The number one way we get to them is through their belly. We bake for them all the time and we ship it. So we ship cans of cookies, Christmas cookies. We ship, by the way, some of these people, this is their second home, right? We ship them to their real home, like their main home. We have addresses, we become friendly with them, and we feed them. Now that might not be your style, but the subliminal message is to kill them with kindness. Because that's, by the way, that's not what they want anyway. They want the fight, they want the argument, they want the challenge, because they want to win.
Yeah.
So just kill them with kindness, feed them.
Yeah. Yeah. When feeding them doesn't work, the next thing that I like to do is kill them with data. To use that transition of, that's why I love noise monitoring devices such as NoiseAware. I have used Point as well. I actually kickstarted them. Personally, don't think they work quite as well. That's my own personal opinion. And I think in some markets, it makes a lot of sense where you might need to worry about freezing pipes and other aspects of data collection that tool offers you. And there's also Party Squasher. I haven't tried that, and open to hearing about anybody using any other tools regarding noise monitoring. But noise monitoring devices in vacation rentals are a great way to ease the minds. I had a conversation this week with the manager of our HOA, and they had a noise complaint from one of our units, and I explained to them that I actually have a noise monitoring device, that I haven't received any alerts from that unit. So I'm actually a little perplexed about what the issue actually was, because I should have received an, I was like, I'll check into it. I was like, maybe it got unplugged. Maybe there was an issue with the data. Maybe I didn't have the noise alert set at the lowest enough threshold. I'll look into it. But so, I'm actually monitoring how many decibels are coming out, or the noise risk score in the case of NoiseAware of what's going on in the properties. And that totally changed the conversation with that HOA manager. She was floored that I was doing that. So speaking of noise monitoring, I hear some noise coming up the steps. I will help you with that after my call, okay? All right.
You got a talking chase. That's impressive.
That's literally what it looked like.
What's that?
It looks like you were talking to the chair. You said you have a talking chase.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's the nice thing is that, nice and, it's good and bad, because I'm sure everyone would go, when they saw my almost 6-year-old come up here and ask to make a smoothie. But yeah.
So let's talk about the data.
Yeah. So, the data with the noise monitoring. So, I actually can, and I've used this at HOA meetings where I've had people that were purposely just trying to cause problems and try and get me fined for noise violations. I actually had bar graphs that showed how noisy it was at the time and place that the neighbor complained about. Be able to say, here it is. One time I had to go into the HOA and argue a fine, and the place was actually vacant. the property was actually vacant. So one, I could show my software showed that we didn't have a guest in the property, and two, the noise monitoring device was showing at the baseline like 5 NPS level. And it's like, so yeah, and that totally killed the credibility of that owner. That owner actually now rents to me. He's actually a client, so he ended up having a baby and moving out of his HOA, and knew that I was going to actually take care of the property better than anyone, since I go so far as to have noise monitoring devices. So that's how I handle that. So yeah, data. It's
I'm starting to think you need a noise monitoring device now.
Yeah, are you picking up?
Christine, you're with Noise Aware, right? So
Yep.
I'm not super familiar with it. Tell us a little bit about your product without it being a sales pitch.
Sure. Well, Derek's like one of the first people I ever met, so we go a way back. So I love when he shares stories. But I mean, pretty simply, it's just a way to help you guys if you're worried about guests. You don't have to worry about them, because we'll catch anybody who's doing anything they shouldn't in your property and causing a problem. And then on the flip side, those tough, uncomfortable conversations with HOAs or neighbors or whatever could be really painful. So obviously having data to the conversation, rather than like, you're saying my guest did that, or did they really do that? I've heard the vacant properties thing a lot. We've gotten complaints on vacant properties more times than we can probably count. So
is that the biggest sort of story you hear from your clients about how the product is helping them in the sense of, oh, so listen, I know you didn't come on tonight to talk about this, so I'm going to put you on the spot. I want to hear the craziest, dirtiest story you've ever heard about a vacation rental.
The newest one, and hopefully I won't say who this client was so that it doesn't get put anywhere, but during this whole entire thing happening, I guess people thought that they could move strip clubs into rentals. So we caught a legit like strip club being put up in a large mansion rental in the South. And yeah, they told us that was a huge one, because they were like, that could have gotten really out of hand really quickly and was pretty not cool. Pretty gross. So that was probably the most recent one that was really interesting. We've definitely had some like celebrity stories too. We've known about some celebrities throwing parties. So yeah, but the strip club one was probably the most interesting. I think people during this time are just trying to figure out other sources of places to go. I know I'm in Dallas, there's an apartment complex that we're in, and we've just seen noise pretty constant. Like the minute people started getting itching to, go out, it's like they're going over there they're renting places to party, and that's the unfortunate thing. But yeah. But yeah, the strip club one's my favorite so far.
Wow. So how did they catch on to that? Was it just people setting up stuff or talking as more and more people were coming in before they even got to the point of opening it, so to speak?
Yeah, I think they, basically the graph starts to elevate. I mean, it's noise over time. So they got an alert that the noise was pretty high. And then, if you're playing bass stereo and you've got a lot of people in there, and it's going to be at the highest level, which I like to call the rager. So I think pretty quickly it elevated to that. And they were like, something's up. They're either throwing a huge party or who knows. So yeah, I think they texted them and they were like, no, nothing's happening. And then they were like, we better just go over to the property. This has been going on for a while. And sure enough, when they showed up, it was pretty out of hand. Or starting to get there. I don't know which of the two, but.
Yeah.
I have a boring story.
You have a what?
A boring story about Noise Aware, but I find useful.
Oh, yay.
Is that all right, Matt?
Yeah, sure.
No, I use it in my properties and, under normal circumstances. But during quarantine, I have some properties that were sitting vacant. And just the fact that it's not just Noise Aware, but like, I can tell when my internet goes out, right? And then that's kind of a sign that there's something else that I need to look into, so I could send my manager or whomever out there. And so not just the noise, but just knowing that the internet is out, that gives me peace of mind right now. And then of course, a lot of people were saying, you can cancel your Noise Aware during the pandemic if you're not going to have occupancy, but it's exactly identifying, you know, if someone is trying to squat or whatnot. So that's my boring story for Noise Aware.
No, that's a good one. The Wi-Fi thing is big. I think we've had a couple people talk about that, and they've reached out to people during like a snowstorm or something. So it's kind of been good with guest experience. We have actually caught a squatter before or two, but we've caught one that was like our actual co-founder, Dave. It was at one of his properties, and we were in Dallas, and we drove by the property as the cops got there to try to arrest her, and she ended up running and getting away fast enough. But it was like this whole, like, the whole company got involved in it. We kept waiting for the squatter to come back, and like NoiseWare was the only thing that would tell us when she was there because we could see the noise data. So it was crazy, but she was sleeping there and stealing toilet paper, and he was getting bad reviews because when people would show up, the place would be gross because she'd slept there and like didn't clean up. And he was like, what the heck? Like, who is coming into the property? She'd watched one of the maids type in the code and then figured it out and started accessing it. So crazy. But
Whoa.
yeah.
Well, since we're on this topic, if you guys are interested, I'll tell you about my weekend where I had to go kick out some people.
Did that just happen?
I did that on Friday.
Oh yes, tell us.
So we have exterior security cameras. We also have the noise monitoring too. So anyway, we rented to these guests, and so I was looking at the cameras, and I said, "Who's moving? We got people moving furnitures." And long story short, these kids were moving all the furniture from the house to the garage so that so I said, let me just show up there because, you know, you can't really hear much from the sound. So we have a front camera and we have a back camera. So they cover the front camera with a towel so you can't see anything. So they saw the front camera, but they didn't see the camera in the back. So we caught them moving, you know, stuff to the garage. And when I show up and knock on the door, they have the whole DJ, light, everything set up in the house. They were about to have a big party. So I asked them to leave.
And how did that go?
Some resistance, but they finally did comply.
Did you have to call the police?
No.
Wow.
Good that it was good I didn't get to that point.
Yeah, geez.
Yeah.
Hopefully you didn't go alone too.
Well, I did have backup,
Okay, good.
She
I was
lives in
gonna say,
Texas.
bring back up.
but
Yeah.
I found that when I walk up by myself, you know, they just I think they comply a lot of time. So
Yeah, we've had teenagers try to put tape over the sensor. They taped like the whole thing and they thought that would work, but you can still, I mean, we can still know if you're partying. But it was funny because that was the first time we were like, man, these kids actually probably Googled what this was, figured it out, and then we're like, oh, we'll just put tape around it, like a science experiment. But yeah, they were all underage. And
I saw something
the
recently
cameras
in a
were so
Facebook
no.
group. I saw something in a Facebook group recently where they were having trouble with people who were smoking inside the house. And so what they were finding was people were detaching the smoke detectors from the hard wire, taking them down so that they wouldn't go off. And the solution was, I guess there's a cage you can put up over the smoke detector to keep, because those smoke detectors, by the way, they're 10-year ones. They're like $40 a piece.
Yeah.
Like, and people are finding them in trash cans and they're only finding half of them, you know. So this was a cage that covered the smoke detector that you would just somehow screw into the ceiling or something, and it would keep them from taking down the smoke detector.
Yeah. I had somebody arrested thanks to Noise Aware on the exact 9th anniversary of my very first guest in Vacation Rentals. So that.
Wait, you had somebody arrested?
Yeah. So this was a few years, 3 years ago, February 1st. Yeah, 3 years ago. That's because it's the exact 9th anniversary of my very first guest. We had an issue where we were having people use fraudulent stolen credit cards And there was, going back to what I was talking about email addresses and everything, like I caught a pattern of these people that were either using, Yahoo or Hotmail email addresses and booking last minute on a Friday ahead of the weekend, because they know that once the credit card gets charged on Friday, it's not going to hit the person's statement to even know about the fraudulent charge until Monday. And by that time they've checked out. So, there's enough of these patterns, and we had like 3 or 4 of these guests come through. And so on the last, when I got one, their email address was catchmeifyoucan22@hotmail.com. I was like, let me think about this. And so I set them up. So I actually allowed them to check in, because when I talked to the police about it, they wanted nothing to do with it unless there was a crime in progress. And so I called the credit card provider, found out it was a fraudulent charge. While they hadn't notified me of it yet, they could already see in their system that it was a stolen, flagged as a stolen credit card. So I called and let them check in, then waited in the hall, like stairwell right next door to this unit, called the police. And the amazing part was the police actually showed up in downtown Seattle on a Saturday or Friday night, whatever it was, within 30 minutes, and have them arrested. They ended up having multiple warrants out in addition to the crime that they committed, and had them arrested. And the way that all went down is because I wasn't going to wait just in the stairwell just in case they came out that way or whatever. I went downstairs to the restaurant down below, watching my noise monitoring device for because they actually left right after they checked in and they were going to come back. So I watched my noise monitoring via the app from the downstairs bar and waited for them to come back. And as soon as I saw the decibel levels spike up, I was like, okay, they're back. Time to call the cops, let them know they're here. Boom. Done. So
wow. Ladies and gentlemen, Detective Derek Eaton.
Yeah. So should you have somebody sneak through your system, having noise monitoring devices is a great way to deal with that. Since we have you, Christine, what have you seen on your side as far as data on, like, are you seeing more activity? Because, you guys, we've had conversations about this where, you guys even know how often places are getting cleaned, because most of the time vacuum cleaners are the noisiest thing going off in our vacation rentals. Like, are you seeing more cleanings happening? Are you seeing, is it spotty, or what are you seeing big picture wise from the data that you guys collect?
Yeah, I mean, I think we saw it was pretty quiet. Like, it was kind of crazy how quiet it got between March and April, which I think was pretty indicative of all the cancellations we were sort of seeing in the whole industry sort of going that way. But we saw an increase between April and May of about 114% in terms of like noise activity. But we've seen larger events on random timeframes and weekends. So it does, and more in urban locations, so cities where I think people are trying to find a way to gather. That was happening a little bit more towards the end of April or early May, I think, just because we were, I think people were starting to be like, I need to get out of my own place. And not everybody is probably, the same and thinks about screening or making sure they're booking the right guests. And then just feedback from people that are managers that use NoiseAware were saying that, yeah, by decreasing their bookings, they're seeing a lot more increase in events. But with people who use us, I mean, they're usually squashing something pretty quickly. So we can only see loud events that start to go off in certain areas. But yeah, I think we've still seen a good amount of activity in California, a lot in Texas, which we thought was interesting, and then Florida as well, and then some of the upper states. So
are you seeing anything in regards to either the protesting or like holidays too? I was wondering about that. Like July 4th is typical fireworks. Does that bleed into the house? Does that get picked up, stuff like that? Or is it just more like the noise activity is up because there's generally more people gathering?
Yeah, noise activity is usually up. The indoor sensor doesn't really detect much from outside. The outdoor sensor will, but the outdoor sensor now, it's a new feature that we've done, is basically it will check first if there's indoor noise, because usually when there's indoor and outdoor, that means that it's the people at the property rather than like a jet plane or fireworks or whatever. So we try to do that. But yeah, I would say that we see that noise, we call them like noise events. We see that the activity almost doubles in a weekend that's a holiday weekend compared to another weekend. And I'd also say that's when we get the most phone calls about terrible stories, is like July 5th or 6th, because somebody had something happen to them and they call us because I think they probably, you know, Googled or saw us in a Facebook group or whatever, and they're like, yeah, this sucked. So, which is unfortunate. I like to market to the prepared people, but
So
unfortunately.
you're saying you get those phone calls after it happens, and now they want the product to keep it from
Yeah.
happening in the future. Do you feel that the majority of your customers are the people who are responding to an issue that happened in the past?
I think it's a little bit of, I've seen it turn in the beginning, in the like beginning days when we started the company. Yes. Because I don't think we were, you know, we didn't have a huge brand awareness. I think as we started working with more and more managers and other managers, you know, and also kind of like meetups like this where I get to talk to other people and like learn about stuff. I think people have been more, have been wanting to use it to be more prepared and use it as like this is going to make me feel better. If anything happens, I'll know, rather than waiting until something happens and then using it. So I've seen that kind of start to happen more recently, but it's different in the, you know, the post-pandemic world. But yeah, I mean, I think, you know, we thought that things would be a little bit more quiet, but it really, really hasn't. And I think more activity has happened, and more activity that we all don't want to see in some regard, because it's really hard to know what people's intent is when they're booking a place, because there's so many different there's just so many different types of things that people are trying to do right now. You know, they're either not able to go to bars and restaurants they want to, or strip clubs, so they're bringing them somewhere else. And then you know, too, I think I heard that there were a lot of people that have been protesting that have been traveling to different like urban cities to protest. So they might be staying somewhere to protest, which, you know, you just don't know, you know, what their intent is for their trip. Whereas in the past, I think we've been, you know, the pre-COVID world, we were sort of able to understand like somebody's on a spring break or vacation, but all of that kind of got canceled. So it's just a different world we're living in now.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Cool. So in general, you're seeing upward trajectory, not necessarily in a good way because of how many noise events that you're dealing with or seeing in the data, but you are seeing activity, which I guess is better than a lot of empty properties.
Yeah, I think the 114% increase was more around like we saw activity in properties that was indicative of it being booked rather than cleaning or just like a checkup on the property, which is a small blimp. During the day, we saw like, you know, the same patterns that you would see if somebody was actually staying there. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we see data that like tells us that people are staying in the property more than going out. I think that's the next wave that we'll kind of be looking at, is like, are people staying in your property more than they are going out to local spots? Because I know, Derek, you were saying a lot of people have asked about like kitchen supplies and like cooking and stuff like that. So like, are people staying in your unit longer instead of going outside and going to local businesses? So it's like, then do you start to market your place to be more comfy and cozy and, you know, cleaner than a hotel and stuff like that? So.
Christina, I actually have a quick question.
Sure.
Out of curiosity, what is the cost with Noise Aware and the business model? I'm assuming subscription transaction-based or subscription-based?
Yeah, so there's a one-time fee for the hardware, the indoor units, $199, and then it's $10 a month. And if you have more than 5 properties, you can feel free to talk to one of our team members, and they can talk to you about different pricing. Or even if you have 2 and you're looking to grow, we're kind of always working with people as they're growing their business. So
yeah.
We're going to be having Christine on later on in our Expert Spotlight series.
yeah,
We'll do a deep dive into Noise Aware, and it's not, you know, it's really just that interview is going to be more around solving problematic issues in the home.
yeah,
And that's a solution. I mean, her solution is one solution, but at this point, she's an expert in solving problematic issues in the home. So So we'll be having her do some our expert spotlight series once we get that all ramped up with the vacation rental life. That'll be fun.
And I'd say she's also a pretty good marketer and just overall
I
kick-ass
love
person
talking
too.
about marketing.
Yeah.
Matt's speaking my language these days.
Yeah,
What's
good
the-
stuff. Anybody got any questions that they want to ask, whether it's of Christine or anybody else? We got about 6 minutes until the top of the hour when we break. So I just want to dig into, Kwame.
Two things. First, Christine, what's the best way to contact you?
You can email me directly. It's my first name, Christine, at noiseaware.io. But I'll type it in the chat too, so everyone knows it.
Christine with the CH.
Yeah.
Spelled as, you know, the label that's probably put right next to it.
Exactly.
But just in case. And the other thing I was more curious, I'm surprised none of you actually wanted to chat about this enhanced cleaning. Like, I'm not even going to lie. I looked at it and I was like, okay, New can actually handle this, but as a host, I took New hat off and put host hat on and was like, oh my God, like this is a lot.
Yeah, I was curious about that too. That email was.
I think hosts are just fatigued with Airbnb's big brother, you know, you're gonna do this and you're gonna do that so that we look good attitude. So I looked at it, I'm like, I'll do what I can do, and I won't, and I'm not like stressed out about what Airbnb is trying to dictate on my business. So I think that's literally, I don't know, that's my point of view is Airbnb, you could do whatever you want, like go have fun.
And to clarify, is that like an increased time frame between checkout and check-in time for cleaning, or what are you guys referring to?
Yeah, laundry list of activities that Airbnb wants us all to agree to, and or the time frame is kind of the thing. So
Time frame is going to be the big issue, right? Because it's going to drain the revenue opportunity, especially if they programmatically affect that.
yeah.
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 Like booties, hand sanitizer, gloves, mask, EPA registered chemicals. Like if you didn't have your own cleaning company, this is definitely like a huge challenge. Like, and I'm just thinking of the majority of hosts that are actually doing this themselves, not even like the entire homes, not like the professional hosts that have like their own contractors that they're working with that they can nudge to kind of get them to comply. But there's going to be a good portion of hosts that just are going to find this really impossible to even meet, let alone how they plan on enforcing it. I'm just kind of curious. I wanted to see your opinions, but we got 3 minutes, so I'm going to really get to the conversation.
And yeah, I'm just not worried about it, because if they really want to enforce all of this and they think that they're going to be able to figure out whether it's happening, you know, I'm going to keep my guests safe. I always have, always will. That'll be priority. But, you know, the data that they're basing that off of, I feel like is also 2 months old, when we didn't necessarily know as much about the COVID as we do now even. So like, it's a kind of a moving target, and now they're finally coming out with some guidance. And yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily realistic to wash every single pot, pan, and dish in the property after every single guest checks out. And, you know, there's certain things that just aren't going to happen logistically, and or waiting 72 hours also isn't going to happen. Like, what are they going to cancel reservations that they have with me right now that are back-to-backs? You know, we'll see, I guess. My guess is no, given that they're not returning money to guests right now. Like, I've had guests cancel in the past month where the money didn't get returned to the guests. They were just given a travel credit, even though my company's receiving not a dime. So they're just hoarding that cash right now and issuing travel credits and not wanting to return money to guests. So I think it's more of a PR move, like everything else.
Yeah, all of this is a moving target. So whether it's enhanced cleaning or whether it's refunds, I mean, I got an email today from JetBlue. If you buy their package, they will refund you all of your money to the card you paid your money onto as long as you cancel within 60 days advance. They have never done that before. It always was a travel credit. But the scene of travel and hospitality as a whole is shifting dramatically. Vegas just opened back up. Things are different, right? Everything is going to be different moving forward. So I don't know how long this will stick. I think to your question, to John's point, is that just everybody's just tired of Airbnb dictating everything, you know? So they'll do the best they can, and who will check compliance on that? They laid off 50% of their people, so it's not like they're going to be able to really check compliance on it. They probably don't even have enough of a team to even break down the and hold true to form the website properties to enforce some of that stuff, you know. So we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out over time. And you know, the harder they come down on people, the more people are going to leave the platform. So maybe professional managers and those over 5 properties will stick around, but you might very well see 1 to 5 owners leaving the platform, migrating to VRBO or some other system, you know. So
and yet, at least Airbnb's stance now is, you know, they're focused on the 1 to 5 property owners, you know, the individual people. Yeah, and you know, they've definitely turned their back against the professionals.
right, the
saying,
professional
you know,
host,
you guys
right?
are going to
Yeah.
stick with us, so we don't care about you. So, you know, they're just making stuff up as they're going along, and yeah, I think hosts are just fatigued with the random rules that Airbnb is trying to dictate, and so I don't jump when they announce something new, because it's like, all right, you're just a marketing channel, and that's all you are.
Yeah, I saw a meme going around the internet on Facebook with Santa Claus, and it said that Brian Chesky was on the naughty list. So I don't know. You can't make that stuff up, you know. Yeah. So, hey, thanks for everybody coming on. As a reminder, we've got the Vacation Rental Life Facebook page. We'd love for you to like that page. And we've got the Vacation Rental Life Facebook group. Please join our group, get involved, continue the conversation there. Make sure you're asking questions and talking about products and services and how you move forward in the new economy and the new way of doing business. And we appreciate all of you guys jumping on, being on this call, and we will see you next week at 8 p.m. Eastern time for a 1-hour time block instead of 90 minutes. 1-hour time block moving forward each week. And we'll try and keep it within the rails. Thanks to Derek for coming up with these topics tonight. And if you guys have any additional topics, feel free to post them in the group. We'll source the group for information and needs that we'll talk about each and every week. And we'd love to have a larger group, so feel free to invite your friends.
Yep.
As I say all the time whenever I leave stage, until next time, don't forget to live happy, smile a lot, and high five everyone around you. Take care, guys.
Bye, Matt.
Bye, guys.
Bye.